In 1953, the average American family spent about 22% of their income on food. But for millions of folks across the South, the Midwest, and the hollows of Appalachia, even that number was a luxury they couldn't touch. They cooked different. They ate different. They stretched a single dollar across a whole week of suppers using tricks and ingredients that have all but disappeared from the American table. Number 7 on this list was once the most common weeknight dinner in the country. Number 3 showed up in school cafeterias, church basements, and every farmhouse from Georgia to Iowa. And number 1, the meal that fed more families through the lean post-war years than any government program ever did, has been almost completely forgotten. These 25 dinners fed a nation. Then we threw them away the second we could afford to. Hit that subscribe button before we start, because what you're about to hear might just make you pick up the phone and call your grandmother. Let's count down. Number 25, bread and milk. Long before cereal, before granola bars, before anything came shrink-wrapped in a box, there was a bowl of day-old white bread torn into pieces with warm milk poured over the top. Maybe a pinch of sugar if the jar wasn't empty. Mothers called it poor supper. Kids didn't know the difference. A loaf was 16 cents, a quart of milk, 21. That was dinner for 6, under 50 cents. In 1,000 farmhouses, this was the taste of just getting through. Number 24, creamed corn over toast. Canned Green Giant, 9 cents, heated in a saucepan and ladled steaming over 2 slices of white bread until the bottom turned almost custardy. That was Tuesday night in the Midwest. Number 23, fried bologna. Thick slices, 2 little notches cut so the meat wouldn't curl, dropped into a screaming cast iron skillet until the edges blistered. The smell brought kids running from 3 rooms away. Served on white bread with yellow mustard, maybe a slice of government cheese. Nobody was ashamed because everybody at the table was eating the same thing. Number 22, crackers and milk. Saltines broken into a cold glass, eaten with a spoon. 30 seconds for the crackers to soften, then you ate fast before they turned to paste. The unofficial supper of children on nights when there was nothing left to cook. Number 21, macaroni and tomatoes. Not mac and cheese, not marinara. Elbows tossed with a can of whole tomatoes broken up by hand, salt, pepper, a knob of bacon grease. Every Southern grandmother made this. Church cookbooks listed it without ingredients because everyone already knew. Number 20, potato soup with fatback. Diced potatoes simmered in water with a chunk of salt pork until they fell apart into their own thick, starchy broth. A splash of evaporated milk if you had it. Children dragged cornbread through the bowl until nothing was left. Number 19, wilted lettuce with hot bacon dressing. Here's where it gets interesting. Bacon grease, apple cider vinegar, a pinch of sugar, brought to a hiss in the skillet and poured straight over raw garden lettuce. The leaves collapsed instantly. Sounds like something a fine dining chef invented. It was actually the poor man's answer to limp greens and leftover drippings. Number 18, stuffed bell peppers. The trick that made 1 pound of ground beef feed 6. The rice doubled the volume. The pepper became the bowl. They looked like effort. They felt like abundance. They were neither. Number 17, salmon patties. Before tuna took over the pantry, there was the tall can of pink salmon. 25 cents, drained, mixed with cracker crumbs, egg and mustard, fried into golden patties that crisped on the outside and stayed creamy in the middle. Friday night supper that felt like something from a diner. Number 16, hamburger gravy over mashed potatoes. Browned beef, a spoonful of flour, milk poured in slow until the pan bubbled into a thick white gravy shot through with brown meat. Fed 6 for under $1. Heavy, filling, deeply satisfying in the way only starch and fat can be. Number 15, salt pork and beans. First pattern break. This is the meal that built the American working class and then got erased from it. A fist of cured fatback into a pot of soaked navy beans. 3 or 4 hours of slow simmer until the broth turned silky. Beans, a dime. Salt pork, 12 cents. Fed 8 for 2 days. Nobody talks about what we lost when we stopped making it. Number 14, chicken, and dumplings. A hen too old to lay was too valuable to waste. 2 hours in the pot until the meat slipped from the bone. Then the dumplings, dropped, not rolled, swelled into pale, tender clouds. This was the meal that appeared when somebody was sick, when a neighbor lost someone, when the weather turned. It was care-made edible. Number 13, pinto beans and cornbread. Across the mountain south, this wasn't a side. This was the whole meal. Beans soaked overnight, simmered all day with a ham hock. Cornbread baked in the same cast iron the grease came from. You crumbled the bread straight into the bowl. In Kentucky, in Tennessee, this came around 5 or 6 nights a week. It built generations of Americans who worked in coal mines and textile mills and never asked for anything fancy. They didn't need fancy. They had this. Number 12, navy bean soup with a ham bone. After Easter, after Christmas, the picked clean bone went straight into the pot. The same recipe has been served in the United States Senate dining room since the early 1900s. That tells you everything. Number 11, chipped beef on toast. The military called it something unprintable. Civilians called it SOS. Salty dried beef, stirred into a thick white sauce, poured over toast. Every veteran who came home from Korea brought this recipe back with him. Number 10, fried liver and onions. Second pattern break. Beef liver was 20 cents a pound, packed with iron and B12. Butchers had more than they knew what to do with. We stopped cooking it because we could afford not to. The nutrition didn't go anywhere, the knowledge did. Number 9, Hoppin' John. In the low country of Carolina and Georgia, this wasn't just food, it was superstition. It was survival compressed into a single pot. Black-eyed peas, a smoky ham hock, long grain rice, a pinch of red pepper. Eaten on New Year's Day, it brought luck. Eaten on a Tuesday in February because there was nothing else, it brought dinner. Number 8, scrapple, the one that makes people flinch. Every scrap of a slaughtered hog simmered with cornmeal and sage, set firm overnight, sliced and fried until mahogany, drizzled with maple syrup. This is what launched Pennsylvania men into the fields before sunup. Number 7, split pea soup with ham. Third pattern break. Nothing in the American poor man's kitchen stretched as far as this. 9 cents for the peas. The bone was free from Sunday dinner. The whole batch cost 30 cents and fed a family until Tuesday. You could feel it working from your sternum outward. Number 6, tomato gravy over biscuits. Before red eye and sausage gravy got famous, this was the everyday breakfast. Bacon grease, flour, crushed canned tomatoes, a pinch of sugar, poured thick over a split biscuit. Sometimes it was supper too. Number 5, succotash. The word comes from Narragansett. The dish predates the United States by centuries. Lima beans, corn, a hunk of salt pork. Cheap, filling, nourishing. Today, it shows up as a side at summer cookouts and nowhere else. Number 4, fried potatoes for supper. Sliced raw potatoes, an onion, bacon grease, a low slow heat until the edges crisped and the onions melted into sweet ribbons. Nothing alongside it. Maybe bread. For the families who had it every Wednesday, this was one of the best things they ate all week. Number 3, greens and pot liquor. A bunch of collards or turnips or mustards into a pot with salt pork. The pot liquor, that dark mineral-rich broth at the bottom, wasn't a byproduct. It was the point. Cornbread was baked specifically to be crumbled into it. Poor southern families didn't know about the calcium and the folate. They just knew it kept them strong. They were right. Number 2, black-eyed peas with a ham hock, almost entirely bone and skin and cartilage. But what that hock released into the water over a long afternoon was extraordinary. Rust-colored, smoky, thick with gelatin. 2 hocks for 15 cents fed a family. And number 1, bean soup. Just that. Whatever dried bean was in the pantry, an onion, a bay leaf, a scrap of cured pork. This is the meal that shows up in every American oral history of poverty from the Great Depression through the post-war years. In Appalachian mining towns, in Dust Bowl farms, in the sharecropper shacks of the Mississippi Delta. A pound of beans was a dime, It fed 6 for 2 days. Nothing in the American kitchen has ever done more for less. We traded it for canned soup, frozen dinners, and the comfortable amnesia of a full supermarket. The families who made it didn't have that choice. They made it because they had to, and they made it well, and they fed their children. And those children grew up and forgot it existed. Here's my challenge. Make one of these this week: the salmon patties, the hamburger gravy, the tomato gravy on a biscuit. Make something your grandparents made without a second thought, and come back and tell me if it was as bad as you feared. Drop the one you're going to try in the comments. Like the video if any of this hit something tender. Because these weren't consolation meals, they were the real thing. They were a whole way of life we got sold out of,